Welcome to Proof It's Possible. I created this series because I know you've been wondering if this is actually real. If women are actually building businesses and making real money and loving their lives, or if everyone online is just a big fat liar. So I invited my clients to come on and tell you themselves. There's no filter, just the real story. Today, I have one of my most favorite humans, Grecia Ruiz, a friend, a former client, and the founder of Italy Brides, host of There She Goes podcast and community, a speaker, and a published co-author in the book, This Time It's Personal. Grecia, I'm so excited, girl. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Kaitlin. I can't believe this. Loved the intro.
I was like, girl, look at those titles. I'm here for it. I am really excited to chat with you today because when I was thinking of the women I've worked with and who other women could identify with the most, you came top of mind because you are what I consider like the classic multi-passionate. Like, you are seriously someone who has had like a million ideas and a million things you wanted to do and create. And you even went viral, correct me if I'm wrong, for your macaron business.
I did.
And then you decided to close that. I want to start by you telling us a little bit more about that season of your life right before you and I met at the women's conference and kind of like what you created, why you decided to close it, and then where you were at that time.
It's such a good question, and I remember it so vividly, so I'm glad you asked. I had, previous to the macaron business, already even had, in the pandemic, started a Bakery by Gigi, a custom cakes and cupcakes business, at-home business. That was, I think everybody became a baker during the pandemic. What you got to find
Except
at-home
me.
Hobbies. You found podcasting.
Everything. Yeah. No, I burn everything I touch, just the same way with plants. But okay, girl, keep going. We want to hear your story.
Well, so through that, the pandemic, at-home business, I, enjoyed it at the time, but then I figured out that very quickly that it was very difficult for custom cakes and custom anything really to you price it accurately and figure out my margins and figure out my time and level of effort. That was really hard. Some cakes would take, 6 hours. Some would take 12. So it's a little hard. And so I decided to start Cherie macarons because I thought, well, I like baking, but let's try something that's more repeatable, less custom.
Yeah.
And like you said, so then I started doing that business, also an at-home business, while still having my corporate job. I was doing vendor markets, and I was really enjoying meeting the women at these events that also had their own businesses. And like you mentioned, I tried my hand a little bit at social media, and one of my 6-second clips went crazy viral. I'm talking 13 million people.
So not even like a little viral, like a lot viral.
I went from a few 300 views to like 13 million. I'm like, whoa.
I really miss those days on social, though. I do, when you could just hit the jackpot like that. So good.
Yeah. And then the follows, right? Ding, 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 start coming in. I was overwhelmed. I actually wasn't ready to handle that level of virality. And that business was actually not ready to scale at that level. It was very local business. And I already wasn't very happy. What's funny is that reel, and the reason I know it went viral, it's actually about being unhappy in a corporate career and me doing a side hustle. That's why it went viral. I think people are very triggered by like corporate, and in this case, it was Microsoft Teams. Ding, ding, ding. So there's a reason it went viral, right? So that moment started getting me reflecting on what it is I actually wanted. And if I'm actually enjoying the content piece, but it's not actually taking me anywhere, I figured, okay, this is the wrong business model that I'm in. But at the time, it felt like I was publicly failing and publicly having to disclose, okay, not only did I close Bakery by Gigi, now I'm closing Cherie. I thought people are going to think this girl doesn't know what she wants. And I also thought it might erode trust in my community or my audience of like, where are you taking us, girl? Like, where are you going?
Yeah.
And then so it was a good year before I finally went to this event. And knowing that I still wanted to try my hand at entrepreneurship, not really knowing what I wanted, being interested in podcasting, a little bit interesting in content creation. And I went to that event fully ready to absorb what women who are in the online space are actually doing in real life. And I'm so glad that I got to sit with you that lunch, and our
Yes.
story unfolded ever since.
I love that. And I want to just make sure we even go one layer deeper
Mhm.
because I think, the part that gets missed is okay, so we had these two businesses, we closed them, and then we decided to go to this conference. But what I think is the most interesting is so many women would have just sort of like stopped
Mm.
altogether and just been like, okay, I've already tried twice. And even though I would like to be an entrepreneur, I would like to try my hand at these things, I don't know if I'm cut out for it. So why did you not stop? Like, do you remember the kind of thoughts going into your head that said, I know I'm like meant to do more, but I feel like that takes a lot of guts. I want to
Mhm.
hear a little more about that.
Yeah, and I think I love that you're asking about this layer because especially we start getting into what did it literally feel like? What does it actually feel like day to day embodied it? And
Yes.
maybe somebody out there might be feeling this way. So it's a huge 180. And no, I do remember. And I think it's at the end of the day, the discomfort of being in my comfort zone was
Yeah.
so much greater than the fear at that point of trying again. And so there was really huge discomfort. What that looked like for me was really out of the 8-year plus corporate career that I had at the time, I was already unhappy for 5 out of those years. So it wasn't like when I closed, Cherie, it wasn't like, oh, I just barely had realized I was unhappy. I mean, no, we're talking like, I've been like significantly unhappy in my day to day, pretty miserable. I'm talking, you know, a lot of anxiety and depression during
Mm,
this time frame. And it wasn't very visible. I think maybe to others, or at least to others in my job, my colleagues were kind of shocked because I kept performing, I kept producing, I kept accomplishing in my job, but inside I was dying. I had no energy left every day after work, zero energy. Sometimes I barely had energy to even do my work. And
mm.
that also started literally embodying itself into my physical health. So emotional health, mental health down. And now my physical health was taking a toll. I'm not sleeping, I'm stressed, I'm overeating, or I'm not eating at all. So that is what if we're, going down to the layers, that is what it actually looked like. And so it was much scarier to stay there than, and I'm getting chills, than to try again because I knew that this life was not for me and there's got to be more. And I'd rather face this fear of rejection or the fear of another quote unquote failure, or just there's got to be something better out there, and I need the proof, for me that was in person, of women who can show me
Yeah.
that there is a better path out there.
I such chills because I think that people listening to your story right now who are potentially stuck in a situation, and for many women, that is a job that they do to pay the bills. And like you, they're going to perform because if they say they're going to do the job, they're going to show up, do the role, the whole thing. And it begins to literally like all consume you and eat you
Hmm.
alive. And the thing you said, I have to repeat it for everyone listening, that horrible situation, right? Like that's going to exist no matter what. So why not try again? Because the worst case is like here.
Hmm.
So it's like the only alternative could be either the same or better, right? It's this or something better.
Yes, I always love when you say that.
So good. So then we fast forward, right? We meet at the event, we go and have some lunch, and you decide that you want to join Ascend, which is I'm changing the name, by the way. Woo! But at the time, my group program Ascend. And I think this is another layer because it's one thing to say, I'm going to try again, but it's another thing to then take out your card and say, I'm ready to invest in myself.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, like, what made you say yes to investing yourself and specifically in the Beam Life?
Mhm. I think I'll take it back super quick because I realized that the catalyst was actually November, I don't remember the specific date, Black Friday of 2024. So that day was actually the day in terms of decision making that I had a catharsis after Thanksgiving. And I talked to my mom. You've met her. She went to the event as well. And she
Love her.
also is a practicing therapist. So that helps. So point is, I just kind of broke down in front of her and I told her, I can't take this anymore. And so it was like, we kind of distilled down what is it that I'm actually afraid of and then make a plan based on that. And so because of that November catalyst and catharsis, I was ready to start investing in myself more formally because I had kind of tried it on my own, right? And
Yeah.
so some things work. So I learned some things. I, learned other things, but I knew that I needed support. And I also needed to the point of what the series is, the proof. I really, really needed proof. So the first investment was the event. But I went to that event with a kind of initial investment, ready to invest in a longer term commitment. I knew that I needed consistency, support, and accountability, a community around me. I went into that event like fully ready to
Yeah.
invest, but so I knew what I wanted, but why the Beam Life specifically? So it hits all those points, but and I've told you this a lot too. I felt very comfortable with your approach. I felt
Hmm.
that you care about the people, behind the programs and the people that you get to work with. And so I trusted your vision. I trusted your own business, right? And your growth in business. But more than anything, I felt comfortable. I felt seen, and not just by you, but actually by the women also in that community.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that. I pinch myself on a regular basis that I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to like lock arms with these badass humans living out their dreams and passions. And I just feel so lucky that our paths collided when they did. And to be able to watch you like transform before my eyes has been one of the most incredible experiences for me as a coach. And I want to talk a little bit more about how, we've been talking about the event where you went from being an attendee to literally 1 year later speaking at the next one. Wait, wasn't even a year, was
Not
it? No,
even 8 months.
it was 8 months. Yeah. So, like, that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. And like, what did you have to tell yourself to apply to build the courage to do that? Because it takes a lot of guts to put yourself out there and then tell your story. And I know you, like, if you're going to do something, you're going to do it. Like, we're not like going to like dip a little, as I say, we're not going to half ass, we're going to whole ass this thing.
Yes.
So yeah, I want to hear a little bit more about like what that took.
That's such a good question, and you're so right. Sometimes it's to my detriment. It's like that's why sometimes I also pause before I make a
Yeah,
decision. 'Cause if I'm in, I'm all in. So buckle up.
love it.
So yeah, with that one, it wasn't. It's funny. I didn't plan. I knew that. So when I was going to this event and thinking about a future business, I did know that eventually I wanted to do podcasting, and where I was hoping that that route would lead me was to be, in a role of motivationally speaking at events like those and hosting events myself, hosting retreats, hosting events. So to be TBD for the future.
Yeah, we're going to put a pin in
But
that.
yeah, pin in that for now. But so I go to that event again, and through the what was Ascend at the time, I was actually developing another business model in the first steps first, which was Italy Brides. And so I was fully focused on Italy Brides because I actually already had a bride that was working with me while I was planning her wedding in Italy after planning my own wedding in Italy. So I was really more focused last year on Italy Brides and growing that and, learning that and making all the relationships. But the podcasting and the community aspect was still in the back of my mind. I'm like, ooh, and of course, and I kept investing in events and other opportunities that kept feeding into my growth. So at the time, I'm more focused on Italy Brides, but then I invest in another event in October. And there came a speaker contest where you had to make a video of yourself and just basically say, why should you be on stage? And I realized that I had come really far already in just a few months from the previous event. And so I decided, I was like, I'm going to shoot my shot. This is something I said I want to do. So just like with podcasting, I actually first started podcast guesting. So it's like, first, let me be a guest, let me learn it and then go do it. So same, let me be an attendee and then see if I could be a
Yeah.
speaker at someone else's event before I go and try to be a speaker at my own. And I think it's important to share that at the time, I think what also led me to have the guts to do that is I also had the guts, so this is part of the video, to speak up about my needs at work finally. After so long, I actually had verbally resigned from my position in April. And then I was counter offered with a leave of absence instead, which is crazy. I don't think that happens to a lot of people.
Wild.
But it's a testament to how much my physical health had deteriorated, truly. And, throughout this time. And so thankfully, I take this break from work by having the guts to speak up about my needs. I get to share that story in the contest, and then I get to share that story live at the event.
Yes. And it actually perfectly leads to exactly what I wanted to chat through next, because you already kind of gave us a taste of this, that part of what made this possible was having the courage to speak your needs. And then again, the courage to just apply, because when we apply, that doesn't mean we're going to get accepted.
Mhm.
There is a very real chance of rejection, right? And so I would love for you to share with those listening, like, what made this possible? Because to reiterate, over the last 12 months, you have not only built and launched Italy Brides and then actually did a wedding in Italy. You are an author. You launched your podcast, There She Goes, which I'm obsessed with. And you became the speaker on stage. Like, WTF? What did you have to change or modify or do to make these things realized?
Yeah, I think that my story, it's been fun that it was so exponential in 1 year. It's not always the case, but I really
Yeah.
think it came from 5 years of a lot of stagnation. So the exact opposite. I think that it was like the kind of the kettle analogy, I guess. And it's like I don't know, the tea is ready to explode.
Yes.
And so all this like bubbled up energy of mine that I'm like, I was just ready to just go and deposit that energy somewhere. And again, I mean, I did have a little outlet with Bakery by Gigi, and then it was like, okay, retract back to stagnation. Then, okay, Cherie, we're going, we're getting somewhere. And then, oh no, we're back. And so I think it's that stagnation that led to just a burst of energy. And it really was the catalyst of Black Friday of making the decision that I'm like, no matter what, I'm getting out of this situation. Like, this is it. I'm so done. So it's really that decision and then a layer of decisions after that. Investments are really important, of both your like financially, yes, but also your time and your energy. You have to commit. So it was that
Yeah.
decision of, oh, I'm ready to commit, and
Yeah.
actually committing. Consistency, showing up week after week. And of course, there's consistently looks different week by week, but consistently showing up for myself, consistently showing up for coaching, consistently showing up for others too. And
Yes.
those micro decisions and action steps snowballed into bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger action. I think it's really important that for a long time I was waiting for clarity before taking action. And I really, really have learned that clarity truly comes from action, not the other way around. And as I take action,
Say that again. What did you
right?
say?
Action brings clarity, not the other way
Yes.
around. And look, and as you go, you will change your mind. So that's where the clarity piece comes in. Trying to have it all figured out ahead of time. I've learned to trust in myself and just keep going. And then I get to look back and go, wow, look at what I did in a year. I didn't set out. If you notice, I didn't say I'm going to go to this women's event to become
Yes.
an author, become a speaker, launch this, launch that. It was like, I'm just trying to get out of this situation. And that led me to a really powerful year of growth.
Yeah. What I really love so much about you, I mean, there's many, many things, but something I find so refreshing and exciting is your level of curiosity. Because I remember, part of the group coaching is we have calls every single week. And I remember you would ask questions frequently about things you weren't even working on yet.
Yeah, I remember.
Even though your podcast was like 6 months away, you're like, "Okay, can you tell me about this, how to do this podcast or how to do this thing? I just want to know." And it takes a level of discernment though, right? To say, "Hey, Kaitlin, I know I'm not going to be working on this thing right now, but I want to know about it." Like I'm curious because I think when you heard what it would take, it probably like unlocked some things for you where you're like, "Okay, as I get closer, I know what I'm going to need to like prepare myself." But
Mhm.
when you reflect back, what surprised you the most about what you were capable of?
Ooh, I I think the speaking up for my needs is huge. So learning boundary setting, but no, really just finding my voice is one of the things that I'm most proud of and most have been really excited to see. I think I didn't realize how in my head I've been all my life. And yeah, just down to the fact that I'm speaking up at work and people are like, "What do you mean you're unhappy?" I'm like, "What? What do you mean you don't know that I'm unhappy?" And so I realized I didn't know how to use my voice, and I feel very powerful. I feel that I have a powerful voice. I think we all do once you find it and are able to use it. So that was one of the things that surprised me because frankly, if I hadn't used my voice for, whether I was at work or with my mom in that moment crying, saying, I can't do this anymore. If I hadn't used my voice with you to say, you know what, you were a speaker. And so I'm over here starstruck. Okay. Seriously. I'm like, wow, Pink Pony Club. Like you get up there, you
Yes, you're probably
dance.
like the one person that knew it that day. It hadn't been a big hit yet. I'm like, "Where are my people
Seriously.
at?"
And you're like, come on, sing it with
Yes.
me.
Where are we at?
I loved your energy. And so I'm like, all right, girl. Again, it's that courage to speak up and be like, speak up for my needs. I talked to you and I talked to another speaker and I'm like, I want to be a podcaster one day. How do you do it? What do you think? And so same with the actual, program, same with the speaker contest. It's like, go for it. So it's both using my voice, but also being brave enough to tolerate potential rejection, to tolerate
Yes.
potential failure or mistakes. Like they're going to happen along the way and having to learn to absorb that as part of life, not take it personal. I did a lot of worthiness work with the book Worthy from Jamie Kern Lima. And so all of those things I would say is what led me to be here and what surprised me the most that I was capable of.
Yeah. And speaking of obstacles and roadblocks, we've talked about everything you've done over the last
Mhm.
12 months. And it hasn't just been like, "Oh, yeah, rainbows and sunshine and butterflies and perfection." So, what would you say is the biggest struggle that you faced over the last year of building these things? And what did you do to get through it?
I think a lot of the obstacles are internal and it's just surprising sometimes because of course we'll have external factors. There will be external obstacles too. Life gets in the way. Yes. But for me, at least in this year, what it looked like was a lot more internal battle, internal challenge against myself, against my expectations. So, for example, I went on the leave for 3 months, right? So I had this really great opportunity to focus on my health and growing a business outside of my corporate career. I had all these goals and expectations of like this, 3 months? Like if you're listening to
Yeah,
12
it's
weeks, like
forever.
what can't you do? Whoa, I don't know if you're a teacher out there. One of the, members was a teacher and she's like, oh, 3 months is like a summer. Like it goes by way quicker than you think. So that was something I had to come to terms with. It might not sound like an obstacle, but it was a challenge of like coming to terms with my capacity, coming to terms with the difference between my capacity and expectations sometimes, figuring
Mm,
out a lot of new things at once
yeah.
and staying balanced and mentally and emotionally stable throughout all of it. I think those were some of the biggest challenges and obstacles. And another one I would say, this is maybe more recent. It's the doubt, right? That you're like, oh, you would think that would go away maybe after trying a few things. It doesn't go away. It might get, smaller. You learn to listen to louder voices. But something that I learned, this is back when I went viral for the 1 second, my 15 minutes of fame. But lots of nastiness comes out of going viral. And so
Mm,
that led to, and when I'm, you're going to get positive and negative reactions. And especially when you start becoming very public, people start having opinions that didn't have opinions about things, about your life before. And so that was a concern of mine for sure. I lived it in a very short scale. And now that I'm here kind of putting myself out there, it is a fear. And that's an obstacle, but something that if you are rooted in your self-worth, it's not that it won't affect you, but it'll affect you less and it won't let you stumble and fall. It's just like, okay, pick yourself
yes.
up back up and keep going.
Yeah, I love that you share that aspect of it because it's so true. There is on one side fear of failure, but there's also like fear of visibility and fear of success over here too. And that can be equally as terrifying because there's a lot of people we love and care about that just don't understand the path we're choosing to take
Mhm.
and have opinions or envy or frustrations about what we're doing or whatever it might be. And so like you said, I deeply, deeply want to, just reiterate that worthiness, that deep inner worth of like, look, I don't know if this is going to work out, but I'm also okay if it doesn't because this is my journey
Mhm.
and I deserve to try it. And yeah, that's why I just really wanted to make sure we told your story today with many layers deep because
Mhm.
so much of the time on Instagram, we're just seeing like the final result. Right? The super cute podcast cover with you blowing a bubble, and people think, "Oh, like, that's just so easy for her. It
Yeah,
must have been
so
because she
easy.
had blah, blah, blah." Yeah. Uh, we don't even wanna talk about what was happening a few days before the podcast, right? Like, you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, I don't know."
I haven't
So
slept.
yeah, I think that's important to talk about all of these things and the real grittiness of it because in my opinion, at least, I haven't experienced it. The result hasn't come necessarily, it's not that it hasn't come easy, but there has been effort behind it. And for you, I know there's been a lot of effort, a lot of investment in your time, money,
Mhm.
energy. And I would love to know, like, specifically, you had obviously the Beam Life program to lean on, not only
Mhm.
me as a coach, but you had the community. I'm curious, like for women listening who might be interested in joining the group program, which is now going to be called Embodied Earner.
I saw.
I'm so excited. It's so good. How did you feel that the program, like what did you utilize the most from the program? How did it support you and why did it benefit you having it in your corner? Or maybe, you know what? This is an honest podcast. If it didn't benefit you, you can say that too.
Well, I mean, after all the growth you heard, I hope you can tell it
Yeah, right?
benefited me. So I'm glad you asked this because actually I was still reflecting. It's like, I went back to the question about, I think some of the decisions that led or what surprised me the most about what I've learned or about myself. And consistency is huge. And
Mm.
so that pretty much ties a lot of this together because, so talking about the fear of failure or the fear of success, like you have to just keep going. You won't find out either way unless you keep going. If you do receive, for whatever reason, negative opinions or comments, you have to keep going. If you're doing well, keep going. Like regardless, you have to keep going. Because there will be those like ups and downs. And one of the things that I was looking for most out of the program and now with my podcast is truly learning consistency. So I actually think a big part of why I finally said yes to the podcast is I knew that it would require consistency, commitment. It's a weekly podcast, like it's a weekly
Yeah.
thing. So, what better way to learn and prove to myself that I can commit to a weekly commitment than a weekly program that is for my benefit, right? So, that's just one of many factors, but consistency was truly huge for me. It might sound like it's not, but I really struggled with consistency, especially when it comes to benefiting me, not my responsibilities at work or maybe out there. I'm not a mom, but maybe for those out there, responsibilities as a mom or responsibilities to your family life. It's when it's about you. So I finally was able to commit to something that was for me. And that was huge. I think the other pieces that I gained besides consistency was clarity. And I really want to shout out the retreat. So if you're still doing that, that would be amazing. If you are,
Yes, I am. Yes.
cool. Because that retreat it's just wow. I think it's going to be more valuable than you even expect. And so I think it's crazy. I mean, I had a very long program and yet at that retreat, I was jam packed with value. 1 hour hot seat coaching session. In that 1 hour, we basically dissected the strategy behind There She Goes in that 1 hour. And to this day, I'm shocked that you were able to help you and then the other women at the retreat pick apart my idea, like turn it into something tangible that I actually felt comfortable moving forward with. And I really feel like you were all able to untangle my brain and go, here it
Yes.
is. I'm like, and so I still am shocked. So I'm like, no way I can do a podcast talking about my silly little stories over here. And they're like, yes, you can. Why can't you?
We want to hear
So
them.
yeah, I'm like, you do? So yeah, I just wanted to mention that, consistency, clarity at community is also huge. It's crazy how the women, not just in the program, but even the ones that are in the retreat, we weren't all from the same coaching group. It was different people from different, backgrounds, different businesses. We still support each other to this day. We still chat to this day. So true testament of what you're building, which is beyond the business side of things. You're building the life side of things too.
Mm, thank you. I did not pay her to say that.
I got chills
That
even just saying that right now.
that's truly like my biggest dream realized, right? Is women establishing a relationship and a connection beyond the business because our building our businesses and doing all that is great and fun. But like who we become and the relationships we build are, in my opinion, the gold, right? Like that's why what we're here to do. And you are just such a great, representation of what it means to support other people. I don't know anyone that's a better cheerleader than you.
Mm.
And that's why I think you receive it in spades because people are like, "Oh my gosh, she's so generous with her energy and her thoughts." Um Let's close this out with, and I think I might know your answer to this because we've talked a lot about it, but who knows? You might throw me a curveball. For women that are listening and they have all of these ideas like you had, right? Like, I want to build this business. I want to build a podcast. Maybe I want to write a book, whatever it might be. And they're like, but I got to work this job. I'll get to it someday.
Mm.
What would you tell her?
Well, that is so huge. It's it's the someday for me. It's like you don't know how long you have left in this life. And I think that was a huge thing for me too, is realizing that no matter what age you are, you don't know how much time you have left. And even then, even if you have all the time in the world, is this the way you want to feel living your life? Wouldn't you rather live it to the fullest potential? But I think to be, careful with the balance of, yes, having the job. It's maybe, my story might be like, cool, I got to take a break and that's amazing. And then I got to come back to a job I wanted. That's not always the case. So I think investing in your mental health first, though, and emotional health, because if you want to try to build a side business while you're not okay at your current
Yeah.
job, that's really tough. Like, that's where I was. It's like, I couldn't. I'm like, I know it's amazing if I could just work and build a business on the side. How cool. I didn't have the space, the capacity for that. I had to build that through therapy and through speaking up, through coaching. I did a lot of work, right? So I would say that take care of yourself first. But once you get to a point where you're feeling like, okay, I could do this more confident, please start. Please. That someday will never
Yes.
come. Like, you have to create it.
So good. Thank you so much for spending time with us today and inspiring all of our listeners to get out of someday and into today.
Today.
Where is the best place for listeners to connect with you?
I'm a big Instagram girly, so my personal at it's Grecia Ruiz, or if you want to tune into the podcast, at There She Goes Club.
Thank you so much. Grecia's story is what happens when a woman stops waiting to feel ready and starts building the skill to show up. This is exactly what we'll be doing inside Embodied Earner, my 12-month mastermind for coaches and creatives who are done dreaming and ready to fucking build. The doors are opening soon, and the link is in the show notes to join us on the next round. And all of the links to connect with Grecia, to get the book she's published in, to connect and listen to her podcast, to just chit chat with her about all the deets are also linked below. Grecia, thank you so much. I love you to pieces, girl.
Thank you, Kaitlin. Love you.